Well, Worlds is not done yet, but it is for North America, and I'm doing my annual interview series with all the folks from different teams that attended. This time, Steve, oftentimes in the past, we've done these interviews immediately following Team Liquid being out. Very somber, very sad. Hopefully now there's been enough of a grieving process that we can make a few jokes and just talk about it more frankly. But I should mention, of course, this interview is brought to you by Alienware. So, Steve from Team Liquid, how have you guys been holding up in the I guess week and a half here since the team exited groups?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was disappointment, obviously, from not achieving what we set out to do, but I think sometimes how you lose makes a big difference, rather than just kind of losing in general. Of course, just results matter, but context is important. And in this case, I think it burned a little bit more than in previous years because at least the other years that I've attended Worlds, usually we start scrimming, we get shit on. There's hopelessness and despair that sets in. There's this finagling to try and focus on things that don't really matter, to be honest, at the last minute when you're trying to, roll the dice and hopefully you get lucky and you make it out of groups. This time was much more, we're there, we're scrimming, we are doing really well in scrims. Great win percentage across all the teams that we scrimmed, and we were able to get scrims with everybody that we wanted, and we were like, oh my gosh, we could do this. This is actually possible. I don't know if you recall, I put out a tweet because I was like with the team, and I was like, oh my God, like this isn't hopelessness. This isn't like arguing. This is like we believe we could do it, and everybody is like busting their ass and believing, and like we're executing in scrims. Like what? Oh my gosh, it may actually happen. I don't know, it's the first time that ever happened. So, of course, disappointment for the team, the players, the region.
Tough, yeah. Well. Okay, so where do you think things slipped? Because obviously you said things were going really well in scrims. You showed up, you felt you guys were really competitive. And obviously it is not like you guys got stomped in that group. I mean, you were very close to getting out and I think took games off of everybody, but just not enough to get into the quarterfinals. So where was that slip, or what was the issue that you think caused the team to not make it through?
I think it's, small unforced errors that end up counting big time. My view on League is that consistency matters. It's a lot like tennis. In order to be really good and win the Grand Slam or win the US Open, you have to have a low unforced error percentage. Period. The end of story. Like you can't even play the game if your unforced errors are high. And so you add up a couple of those. In addition to that, I think our drafting wasn't perfect, and it needs to be perfect because that's something that you can prep for. You can at least control the likely scenarios and be ready to ban accordingly, right? And that some mistakes there. And I think that made some of the games harder than they needed to be. Not putting the team in the best probability to be able to win if they execute well. So I'd say mainly those two. We could have absolutely got out of our group. We could have been first in our group.
Yeah.
You have like LS there saying like, oh, this is 0-6 group for TL. Like, fuck you, dude. Like, no, it's not. We're doing well. And yeah, we could have been first in our group. That's a fact. If we just fixed a few things.
Yeah. So in these moments, does it feel more bitter, or do you feel more encouraged? Because it's like it is kind of this catch-22 of you guys were so close, and perhaps you said the team felt competitive. You had that tweet in the beginning. Are you feeling a lot better about the team's chances this year? But then to still not to be able to make it out, I don't know sort of where you land emotionally on that.
Where I land emotionally, I think the feelings I feel honestly really proud of how far we made it, and given how much happened during this year with all the health issues, all of the coaching changes, all of the up and down between academy and LCS. So many things had to go right once we were presented with an obstacle, and we got through that. I think that says a lot about the wherewithal, the resilience of who we are as an organization, the staff and infrastructure that we have. I would go as far to say that our infrastructure is probably better than any other team in North America for sure, absolutely between North America and Europe. And I just don't know the infrastructure on most teams in the East, but I would say we're up there. Like, I don't think any other organization would have been able to go through what we went through and actually even qualify for Worlds and have an opportunity to make it out. I just don't. And I can't share all the details of all the things that happened, but it was breaking point. There was shit going down, and we were impervious. I think that says a lot. So I'm proud of that. I am very proud of that. That means that that desire to build an infrastructure that works and can handle issues has been built. And this was the first year where I was not as involved in the day-to-day. With COVID, I couldn't be around the team. I couldn't be in while they were scrimming. It was like not the day-to-day that normally 2 years prior would have been possible. So to have all that happen, I just kudos to all the staff. Ben being super instrumental. He's such a jovial guy, works so well with the team. Dodo has been a rock, an absolute rock for me. So yeah, I guess just being proud is probably a takeaway.
Yeah. Broadening out from Team Liquid specific performance at this year's Worlds, I think it's interesting because this is the first time after Worlds where I feel like the conversation is slightly different. I'm so happy to see Giova. I don't know if she'll end up in the shot based on how we edit this.
Here, I'll do real quick. 2 seconds.
Yeah, she's the best.
She's like, no.
She always ends up somewhere in the background of our interviews. I feel like when we're doing them from your remotely like this, where you're at your home. I think she was on the bed before.
She's up there. She's like, what are you, 13, 14?
Yes. Yes. I was just chilling. Always chilling. All right. Anyway, so after Worlds, there's usually like just a ton of despair in North America, and people are like, oh my god, like, and here all the owners suck, everyone sucks, joke region, blah blah blah. This year it's interesting because I feel like the conversation is somewhat evolving around two lines. The first one being, all right, obviously we always talk about Worlds and Worlds performance. Teams are really chasing this. You, Jack, Andy, others. And a lot of folks I think are starting to wonder, like, hey, should we be putting more emphasis from a storytelling perspective, from a goals perspective, from a success perspective on winning spring and summer, and I guess especially summer as they've shifted around the names of stuff. So I'm kind of curious to hear from you, like, when you go into the year, how much does winning LCS count? How much does that compare to your goals around Worlds? Like, have you started to more coalesce in the direction of, obviously Worlds is great, but like LCS is a big goal for us. Where are you thinking these days whenever you're starting a new year and a new season?
Yeah, I would say there's a couple POVs. One is my own personal POV. Absolutely, winning a championship means a hell of a lot. I'd say during COVID, it feels very different, not having a live event, not having the audience, not traveling there, not getting the vibe, the off season, the Travis Gafford show that's at like some bar next to the venue. Like, everybody coming together and just the environment and the stress and pressure and the excitement and the competition. And there's something to that that cannot be replicated as much as you try to do it online. And I'd say for the last, couple championships, however long it's been since COVID, where we haven't been able to have a live event with fans, it hasn't felt the same. That being said, I am pretty sure, I have no idea, I'm not speaking on behalf of the league, but I'm pretty sure that things will be back to some in-person event with fans going into next year. Amazing. I also believe that I think Worlds is going to be in North America next year as well. If those things are the case, that means that winning a championship at whatever venue it's going to be at is going to feel really awesome and is going to feel great for me personally. For the organization, absolutely, winning championships means a lot. It shows and demonstrates that we can consistently perform well, which we have, even if we aren't winning a championship or making the finals consistently, which is awesome. And then for the players, it's a hit or miss, right? Like some players go in and say, it doesn't matter, all that matters is Worlds. That tends to be the mindset of players that have been there, done that. And it's not as novel for them. I think the changes for spring, where the games move over and count towards summer, I think helps a bit. I think that was a good change. But yes, short answer, next year, I think both players and the organization are going to be way more excited about winning a championship because it will feel different.
So do you think that fans and like the league, et cetera, should really be focusing on the championships and then kind of thinking of Worlds as like this bonus level? Do you think that teams in the league and everybody should be saying like LCS championships are great, but we're still going to compete to try to win Worlds? Like where do you think the focus on this stuff needs to be? Because it feels like a lot of folks are saying like, hey, we need to stop pretending that like next year could be the year that we'll win Worlds. That doesn't mean we don't keep trying, but like, I just feel like there's a almost like a fatigue of we're tired of just telling the same, like maybe this year's going to be the year, and then it's just whatever happens.
I mean, I agree. The story is getting old and the narrative is getting tired. I don't know, like there's hope. Hopium, I don't know what you want to call it. Like, it feels like this year was different for us. Didn't we perform technically better than all the teams in Europe?
Yeah, I think we had one extra win over them or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, you say that, but this is also the first year that Europe and North America combined have not won a single game in quarterfinals. You know what I mean? Where there was not even a game that was taken in quarterfinals, even with the teams that we did get out. So I'm not trying to shit on North America and say like it's doomed either, but I do think it feels like this year there's like a broader conversation happening that isn't just like pity and despair for ourselves, but instead is sort of like, all right, this is not working. Like what should we be thinking about instead? How should we be approaching this? Do we need to keep telling ourselves like this is the year? And I obviously like, okay, so I'll give you some extra context around this question, which is sort of the second conversation I've been seeing around this stuff, which is, like this year, it felt like we sent 3 great teams to Worlds. Like normally we send maybe 1 or 2, and then there's like maybe the 3rd seed sometimes is kind of a weird situation, or like it's, Cloud9, but maybe the 2nd seed people don't feel as much confident around. And then we also had like this year, people were able to bring in great players. Like I'm very curious to see what offseason looks like for instance, a team like 100 Thieves. It's like, I don't even know where you make changes there. You guys had phenomenal players this year as well. And TSM brought Sword Art over. Obviously, they didn't even get to Worlds with that, right? But like this year, there was a big emphasis, I feel like, on the top end from just like, all right, we're going to fill in the gaps. We're going to have great players. We're going to bring in all these big name stars and all that stuff. And then some of it is also like, okay, it still wasn't enough. So it's almost, I think in some ways there's a conversation going around that's like, what more can be done at this point in time, right? Like there's a lot of effort that's being put forth into trying to get teams further at Worlds. And while we did probably have the best showing we've had in a while, it was not like, okay, now we're in semis, or we made it to finals or something. So I think there's just a lot of people are very curious to sort of where we go from here. And it, like, as a team owner for a team that's obviously going to Worlds all the time now, and is one that's about to, I'm sure you're busy starting to figure out what the team's going to look like for next year. I'm curious where your head is at in terms of like, what's your goal setting for next year look like? What do you think, the potential upside could be for building whatever team you're going to build?
Yeah, I mean, I think in Team Liquid tradition and very kind of TL and doing it the TL way, we will continue to put the performance of our roster at the pinnacle of our decision making. And that's not just for the organization, it's for the players that compete on our roster. That is one of the reasons why players want to play for Team Liquid, I believe, is because they know we provide everything to help accelerate and increase the probability of them winning a championship. And that mindset and that commitment bleeds through to the resources we provide and the rosters that we put together and the staff that we choose. So that will to win, that desire to, is something that we're proud about and we're committed to. There's a lot of other organizations that will go through a rebuilding year or, just have an alternative strategy that is not focused on winning. And that's not us. So, I mean, for our fans that have been with Team Liquid, they know that we try hard every year, every offseason, every year, and that's just what we're going to continue to do. I can't make at this point, promises of what will happen at Worlds next year, but it feels very different, especially with the context of everything around Worlds. I think we want to be there, and we're going to try everything that we can to do so.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, Worlds being in North America next year, which has now been double confirmed by Riot. So I assume that's like a big thing for you as you're thinking about like, hey, this is going to be in our backyard in 2022.
Yeah, assuming it's happened and it's confirmed by Riot, I don't know what is fact or not. That's up to them to confirm. But assuming that Riot has said Worlds is going to be there, then yes, having Worlds in our backyard means a lot. And it's not just for the feel and the experience, it's also the business side of Worlds being here, right? Because that means partners that want to work with players and organizations and Riot on activations that are around Worlds. That makes a big deal. And I hope that if Riot is going to have it kind of here in North America, that they'll go all out, would be my hope. Like one of my favorite memories in all of League of Legends was like throughout my career, which has now been like a decade or so, I don't know, was Madison Square Gardens and the throngs of people around, that density, that excitement, and then playing and winning, and then going to Washington Square Park and having thousands of fans turn up and meet with the team. I will never forget that. That was just absolutely amazing and insane. And so to pull something like that off again, I think it goes a long way. And I think, that would be super cool. And I'm sure partners will want to get involved in something big. So.
Yeah. Well, I know it's off-season time. I'm sure you can't just show me what your lineup looks for next year, but are you able to confirm that you guys you'll probably have some changes to the lineup?
We're working through everything right now. I think for us, we have everyone under contract into next year with the exception of Santorin. So that's one consideration. And then another consideration.
I think Cold is also not under contract. I think his contract is up this year. Maybe you guys have signed an extension that I'm unaware of, but I think
I can't comment. I can't comment on that, but
Sure.
I will say that all the staff that support the team have conveyed their love for TL, and so that's good. I think there's a desire to continue. And then I think there was a thread the other day on Barney. It's I think Team Liquid, in comparison to a lot of other organizations, we really do what's right for players. We do. We continue to do it. It's not just words. It's like go through the history of the organization. We just do it all the time, right? And so, if a player wants to go and play in a certain region, then we try to make those things happen, even though we don't have to. We do what's right, and so we're trying to work through how all of that. But Alfari is contracted for the next 2 years with us, and he's been an absolute fantastic player. And so, I'm trying to balance that, and outside of that, we've got a fantastic group of players. So, we did a good job and did multi-year agreements with the team, and I think we are in a great position in this off season.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to cover it, and I appreciate you at least addressing one of the things that we've heard so far on stuff. So I do look forward to seeing what you guys are able to put together for next year. Other than that, Steve, I don't know if there's anything you want to say to any of the fans here as we complete our retrospective, I guess, on the year and world's performance, etc.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that's, for all of our fans at Team Liquid, I appreciate the support, during this year. A lot has happened. Hasn't been easy to watch our games, but, we've made a few final appearances and we've qualified for Worlds, given everything. So thank you for all of your love and support. We're going to give back. We're going to host an event. I believe it's on like December 3rd or 4th, something like that. There's more information coming, but we're going to do this town hall where we have all of our fans basically join, and we're going to have myself and the other leaders at Team Liquid, along with some of our preeminent players, and we're just going to Q&A. Ask anything. We'll answer questions about it. Kind of an open forum to chat with Team Liquid, and you can get all the information at liquidplus.com. You just sign up there, and you'll get the notifications.
Oh, speaking of Liquid Plus, I have a question for you. I saw, maybe it was a couple months ago, a fan of one of your streamers, 72 Hours, had redeemed Liquid Plus points to get you to read a very memey message to him, a video. So my question is, if I redeem enough Liquid Plus points, can I get you to give me your roster for next year and tell me what's going on behind the scenes? Is that an option for redeeming Liquid Plus? I know you can get a custom message, so can that be my custom message for the Liquid Plus points?
You know what? For you, I'll have it added to the store, but it will be at like 5 million points.
Okay. Well, I need to look at all the different ways in which I can accrue points, but I'm glad. Maybe not for this off season, but maybe for next year I'll eventually get that.
I'll have it added. I'll have it added. We'll see if you can hit the number.
Yeah, very good. Thank you so much, Steve, for the interview. I really do appreciate it. And for everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things LCS right here on my YouTube channel. Bigger, better, cooler. That is how I would describe North America's performance now that Cloud9 has officially made it out, and who knows who else will be after I film this outro. But it's also the exact way that you can describe the new Alienware Aurora that has released in celebration of Alienware's 25th anniversary. This thing looks amazing. It's an evolution of their legendary design that you may have seen before you've checked out their stuff. It's fantastic. It's just so neat to see what they are doing over there with this new setup. It's just so beautiful. So anyway, I'd love it if you guys could go check out the new Alienware Aurora. You can do so at alienware.com/Travis. There's a link in the description below, and use my code. And yeah, it's gonna be fantastic.